Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar on maximizing your loyalty programs. I'm Christine Thody, Manager of Alumni Careers here at the Sauder School of Business. And I'd like to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy day and joining us today. Back by popular demand, I have Boris Remis, and I will turn things over to him in a minute or so. Presentation today will be about 35 to 40 minutes with lots of time at the end for Q&A. And sounds like there are going to be lots of very interesting things that are going to be shared today. So very excited to have Boris back. I am so pleased to introduce Boris Remis, one of our very own accomplished alumni. Boris graduated in 2010 with a Bachelor of Commerce degree. He is the Assistant Director of Admissions at Bodwell High School, who's turned his extended corporate travel into a passion for loyalty programs. With some moderate effort, he's optimized his flights, his hotel stays, and credit card purchases so that he can enjoy complimentary upgrades on flights and hotels. Boris believes that with some adequate strategies for loyalty programs, everyone is able to maximize their corporate travel while taking full advantage of loyalty programs. And this will ultimately save money and make travel more comfortable and effective. And I know that I have sat through a number of Boris's presentations and definitely am looking at all of my points in a different way. So I'm really excited that Boris has agreed to come back for a fourth time and share all the tips and tricks. So without further ado, over to you, Boris, and thanks again for coming back and sharing your passion with other alumni.
Awesome. Thank you so much for hosting me. I'm hopeful that the sound is all right, and I would like to start this webinar with a little bit of a different structure, considering that we have some new participants this time. So to start, we will watch a very short insert from a very well-known movie, Up in the Air. And this will lead us into some of the insights and some of the things I would like to share with you today.
He just waltzes in and cuts the line.
We reserve priority assistance for our Hilton Honors members. Promotions are great. You should check it out.
Hungry much?
Our business export dinner. Like while I'm grabbing this.
We're talking about, like, you know.
I don't spend a nickel if I can help it, unless it somehow profits my mileage account.
So what are you saving up for? Hawaii? South of France?
It's not like that. The miles are the goal.
That's it? You're saving just to save?
Let's just say that I have a number in mind and I haven't hit it yet.
It's a little abstract. What's the target?
Send her that.
Is it a secret target?
It's 10 million miles.
So I'll stop at this point because that's obviously a very well-known movie for a number of participants. I think it's really opened up, this Hollywood movie really opened up the ideas and introduced people more to the possibilities of traveling and how George Clooney really traveled the world with some awesome tricks. So really the key question I identified in this movie was really what are people saving for, and is it, are you saving just to save, and what's your target? I come across a number of people who collect miles just because they're collecting, but not paying attention to what's the purpose, what's the objective, and what's the target of it. So I started this hobby, which very quickly turned into a passion as an international student who came to Canada at a high school age to attend a boarding school. And traveling home once or twice a year, I would collect miles on Lufthansa Miles and More program. I vividly remember how a lady at the check-in has recommended me to join that program because that's the own program of Lufthansa, and she promised that I would quickly collect thousands and thousands of miles to travel back home in comfort and for free. Well, to my disappointment, very soon I checked the account balance in the Lufthansa Miles and More account and learned that I can only redeem for a piece of jewelry. So that was my first redemption, and it was definitely a very poor use of miles. But not long after that, a friend of mine told me about this wonderful airline, which is also part of Star Lines, or used to be a part of Star Lines. It's a BMI, British Midland International, and they have a wonderful program called Diamond Club, which was extremely, extremely lucrative. That was about 6 or 7 years ago. So after a few months in collecting my miles and crediting them towards BMI program, I've decided to see where I can redeem my miles. And the redemption I've discovered was a trip on Singapore Airlines in business class to the wonderful island of Maldives. And it was all on miles. The flight that actually costed $12,000 per person was just few thousand BMI miles. And this is myself with my lovely wife traveling to Maldives, staying 4 nights at the Conrad Maldives, which usually costs $600 per night. But we were able to redeem Hilton Honors points with a gold status, and 145,000 Hilton Honors points were easily purchased and acquired through a few promotions. Shortly after that, actually not a long time ago, my wife and I, we traveled to Bora Bora using the miles and staying in one of the overwater bungalows for 4 nights that usually cost $1,500 per night, but that was an easy use of 4 IHG Rewards night certificates that can also be easily acquired through some promotions, which I will talk later in my presentation about. We've also had the opportunity to enjoy Singapore Airlines first class. That's a trip in their suite class, and they made this lovely cake for our honeymoon. And the flight on Singapore Airlines in suite class from Singapore to Hong Kong was $8,500 per person, but we only used 35,000 HSBC rewards points. In Canada, HSBC is a partner with Singapore Airlines that allows you to transfer HSBC points, which makes it much more lucrative, much more beneficial. And we stayed in Sydney at one of the Park Hyatt Sydney suites that cost $1,500, but it was an easy use of 12,500 Hyatt points and some cash. This 12,500 Hyatt points could be easily purchased or acquired through promotions. And last thing I'd like to share, some of the examples that could be realized through use of loyalty programs is traveling in Lufthansa first class, enjoying caviar service, and the flight round trip from North America to Europe is usually $25,000. But through a purchase of LifeMiles, that was fairly easy and simple to realize, and it was only a couple $100. In fact, the fellow at the back over there looking very serious, I'm pretty sure he spent $25,000 for that flight, while Yulia, my wife, and I only spent a couple $100 for that flight. So these are just few outrageous examples out there that I'd like to share with you. So you may ask me, oh, Boris, how did you do this? How was this possible? And probably a good answer to this question could be found in the other part of the Up in the Air movie. So let me play this part to you, and it's better, but just give me 1 second.
Satisfied with my show?
Yeah, I am.
A little stingy with their miles. I like Hertz.
Hertz keeps its vehicles too long. If a car has over 20,000 miles, I won't drive it.
Maestro doesn't instant checkout. I like to park and go.
Hertz doesn't guarantee navigation.
It's funny, you don't seem like a girl who needs directions.
I hate asking for directions. That's why I get an app.
That new outfit, Colonial, isn't bad.
Is that a joke?
Yes.
Their kiosk placement blows.
I would never be able to upgrade.
Basically, it's a fleet of shit boxes. I don't know how they're still in business.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Alex.
Oh, Maplewood card. How dare you bring that into this palace?
Hilton offers equal value and better food, but the Maplewood gets out more cooking.
So many of you should that particular moment in the movie when George Clooney is meeting some other traveler and comparing the cards. So my philosophy with loyalty programs is really becoming disloyally loyal. And these are some of the cards that I have in my wallet. I don't travel with all of them. They can be easily stored in some programs and presented at the right time. But it's a science in a way. So if you pay attention to the promotions and you identify what strategies you want to use, you can quickly acquire sufficient amount of miles, or you can purchase some miles. That's another area we'll be talking about to enjoy your personal travel, your family travel, or your corporate travel. In fact, with loyalty programs, especially if you're not loyal to one particular program, you can actually save money, and I have experienced that quite a few times. So my strategy with loyalty programs is based on 4 things. First one would be airlines, and these are the miles, the frequent flyer miles that could be acquired by flying on the airline. They're also called butt in the seat miles. These miles also can be the award miles that could be redeemable towards an award. I frequently purchase some miles, especially when there are some really lucrative promotions, because having a healthy balance of miles is important. But one philosophy I follow is that you need to collect and have just sufficient amount of miles that could be redeemed within 6 to 12 months. Because frequent flyer and loyalty points very often devalue. There are adjustments of hotel categories and changes of the number of points required for a flight. So there is no point of just collecting the points for retirement, but it's also very important to collect the points that you can redeem, or you're collecting the points for a particular goal, a particular target. Unlike George Clooney, who has been collecting 10 million miles, he never spent these miles. In fact, you might remember the movie, he was so greedy to even share these miles with his family friend who was stuck in the airport. But that's something to keep in mind, that there is just enough miles in your account for a particular trip, or maybe 2 trips. The second strategy I use is really focusing on particular hotels programs and acquiring status and acquiring points through promotions by staying in the hotels, and also buying points for hotel programs. And very often you can build a strategy working backwards. So where do you want to go? So when I was planning our honeymoon to Bora Bora and Australia, I was very much working backwards. I did some research. I found out which are the best loyalty programs that allow to travel for the best value to the areas we wanted. And then 1 year in advance, I start collecting or start waiting for the right promotions when loyalty programs are being sold. And the third strategy I use is really having the right credit cards in your wallet by maximizing the spend, and also applying to the right credit card promotions when they are available. And they do become available fairly frequently. So right now we're stepping into the fall season and not far away from Christmas. That's actually usually when airlines start promotions, very generous promotions, and around October, November, December, there are very, very good point sales. There is no point of buying points just for the sake of buying because there is a sale, but you need to do some math or to understand what's your strategy and what's your objective, where would you like to go. So to talk about airlines and airlines promotions, one card I have in my wallet is a card from Starlines. The Starlines has Air Canada, has Lufthansa, and many other partners. And the easiest way to acquire status with Star Airlines is through a Greece airline called Aegean. They have a program called Miles and Bonus, and they have a silver and gold status. So once you reach the gold status, it's actually much easier to sustain that status. You only need 42,000 miles to collect the gold status, and then to sustain that status in years after, you need only 24,000 miles. This is significantly lower than Air Canada for those who use Air Canada or some other North American loyalty programs. The downside is that that program doesn't earn 100% on the flown miles, but it's still something that I've been paying a lot of attention and use that as my primary card. Once I earn status with Aegean, and right now if you sign up for Aegean, they give you 1,000 status miles when you sign up. So you only need to travel 41,000 miles to get a gold status. Might be not the best idea to do it this year just because you only have few more months if you're traveling. But at the beginning of next year, starting January 1st, that's a card I highly recommend you to consider. Starline's gold benefits include access to the lounge, includes upgrades based on capacity if the flight is oversold. That is definitely nice to have a gold status. Extra leg space when you select your seat, and extra luggage. So loyalty status actually sometimes is not very difficult to acquire, but in fact it becomes very effective in saving money and traveling in comfort. There is a concept of which called status match. So once you have a status with one airline, other competing airlines would be willing to give you a status match. So a competition for Starlines is SkyTeam that has KLM, Alitalia, Delta, and there is Qantas, which is part of One World. One World has American Airlines, British Airways, and so on. So these three major airlines. So once you have a gold status, which you can acquire, there was a time when you actually was able to purchase a status, you can status match to another airline. So an example of something I did earlier this year with having Aegean status, I status matched it to Alitalia to get their Elite Plus status, and I also status matched to Qantas to get their gold status. What that means is that currently I'm actually covered on all three alliances and having an elite status with all three major alliances, meaning I pretty much guaranteed access to the lounge, extra luggage, and so on and so forth. It's obviously important to sustain the status once you have it, but a status match comes and go from various airlines within the alliance. So that's something to consider. Is just to reach the desired status with one program and then look for the promotion and pay attention to the promotions that are available. I'll be talking about the blog at the end of my presentation where you can actually you will be able to find this information, and I'll be posting more information about how to earn this status and how to do status match. An example of buying miles will be LifeMiles. It's a loyalty program which belongs to Avianca. This program is part of Starlines, which essentially allows you to use the miles to travel on any of the Starlines partners, such as Air Canada, United, and other airlines in that particular alliance. So just recently, Avianca had a point sale where you would receive 145 bonus miles for the purchase of miles, which is making 1 mile is at around 1.3 cents, if I remember correctly. This is a very, very low price of purchasing miles and then redeeming them for travel on your vacations or some other use of these miles. So that's a good approach of purchasing miles and using them towards your travel, whether it's vacation, and in some cases it can be actually business travel as well, depending on how you structure it. So something to keep in mind. I'm sorry. So talking about hotel programs, I am a big fan of the Hyatt loyalty program. I think Hyatt has some of the most generous promotions and some of the nicest properties. The challenge with the Hyatt properties is that there are very few of them around the world, comparatively speaking to the IHG or the Starwood preferred guest portfolios. But they offer the best loyalty program, the most generous loyalty program, and the most generous promotions as well. The second program is SPG, which is Starwood Preferred Guest. I really like that program just because it gives you the points that are redeemable not only in the hotels, but also for the airlines. In fact, SPG points are the most valuable points in the loyalty business. So if somebody would ask me what's if I were to pick if I were to win 1 million miles one day, what miles would I want? And that would definitely be SPG points, because I can convert them to airline miles, or I can use them towards hotel stay. Very versatile points, and allows you a lot of flexibility. Their loyalty program is nice, gives you free breakfast, gives you several things, but definitely not as generous as the Hyatt, for sure. The third program, which I'm a member of and have status, is IHG Rewards Club. That's the one that has Holiday Inns, Intercontinental, and Crown Plaza. Right now, IHG is running a very generous promotions for this fall, where essentially after 4 nights or 2 stays in Holiday Inns, you can earn 2 certificates to stay at any of their properties. So earlier in my presentation, I was telling about how we stayed at Intercontinental Bora Bora. Well, in fact, this is how you can earn the certificates, is by staying at very inexpensive Holiday Inns. By registering in the IHG Rewards promotions for this fall, you can get the certificates to stay at a very nice properties on your vacation. That's something to really keep in mind. Another thing is that SPG points, when I was planning my other trips, since SPG points can be transferred at a very nice rate to other airline programs, I would be selecting the airline program that will allow me the best redemptions possible. So those are the 3 hotel programs that I'm a big fan. Marriott and Hilton Honors, probably not the best point programs anymore. They require significantly more points for the redemptions. So in fact, Hyatt, SPG, and IHG are probably the 3 programs I would highly encourage you to join and enroll into their promotions, depending on your travel coming up this season or maybe in the future. I'll be posting information about the promotions in the blog. So, and the last thing that is part of my strategy is credit cards. So the 3 credit cards, I have multiple credit cards in my wallet. But the 3 major credit cards I have is the American Express Gold. This card gives you first year free and 25,000 points. American Express points can be converted to various airlines, so they are very nice points. And that's a very nice card because it gives you double points on grocery spend, gas, and travel. The second card I have in my wallet is Alaska Airlines card, MasterCard. Gives 25,000 miles as well. And when you sign up through Canadian rebates, you get a rebate. So essentially for $50, you would get Alaska Airlines card and 25,000 miles. Alaska Airlines miles are extremely valuable because you can redeem them on a number of airlines. Alaska Airlines are not part of any alliance, but they allow you to put your points towards anything. What I mean is that you can fly KLM, you can fly Alaska, you can fly Cathay Pacific, you can fly Emirates, you can fly Fiji Airways. So this May we traveled to Fiji, and that was because we use Alaska Airlines miles. In fact, Alaska Airlines and their credit card allows you to have multiple credit cards, so you can apply for several cards one few months after another, and that's in fact something that is very nice of this credit card. I'll be talking about how credit cards affect your credit score in the blog. in the coming weeks. And the third card I really enjoy is the Marriott card. Even though the Marriott rewards points are not as valuable as the ones that I mentioned from Hyatt, SPG, or IHG, Marriott card doesn't charge foreign exchange fee. And we do have to make transactions in foreign currency, in currency other than Canadian dollars. And this is probably one of very few, but probably the best card that doesn't charge foreign exchange fee on transaction. I've had this card for a number of years, and saving 2.5% on your foreign currency transactions when you're purchasing tickets, when you're doing any transactions is very valuable. So for people who travel frequently, or the best card to use when you travel, I would encourage you to apply for Marriott Rewards Visa card. So if you're a beginner or if you're an advanced participant of this webinar, I would say these 3 credit cards is an excellent start for you with the loyalty programs. So in fact, American Express card points could be converted to SPG points. That would basically allow you to cover many of the hotel programs and many SPG properties you might want to travel. We are almost, we will soon be done with the presentation, but I'd like to leave enough time for you to ask questions. In my previous webinars, I was putting a lot of information and a lot of data in the slides, but this time I decided to make it more visual and allow more opportunity for the participants of the webinar to write your questions in the chat. So you might see a chat box, or you might be able, I guess, to do it through your phone. Please ask your questions. So I would be very happy to elaborate on airline, credit cards, or hotel points. One thing I'm very excited to announce is that I've recently resigned from my current role at a high school and will be moving on to pursue new endeavors in international education, as well as some entrepreneurial ventures. So one of the entrepreneurial ventures, or one of the new ventures I would like to offer to my dear friends and colleagues, is Canadian Points University, which we founded just a few weeks ago. And essentially, we are committed on educating Canadians using miles and points to maximize their travel and to save on money on their travel. People are very busy with their normal lives, and obviously doesn't often give them opportunity to pay attention to all the promotions. So in January of 2016, we are hosting the first for Canadians by Canadians Miles and Points conference, which would be at one of the venues in Vancouver. I invite you to register for updates at pointsu.ca, and a new blog will be launched on that website in the coming days. This presentation, as well as all the notes for each individual slide, will be available on the blog, and I will be able to elaborate and answer your questions in the comments on the blog. So that's something I sincerely invite you to join as fellow Sauder students or any other guests attending this webinar, because I'm committed to making loyalty programs work for you, as opposed to you working for the loyalty programs. We have invited and have confirmed some of the most exciting Canadians, true Canadians, to be speaking and sharing their tips and tricks at the conference next January. So we have Canadian Travel Hacking, Don't Call the Airline, Canadian Kilometers, Points Hogger, Rewards Canada, Award Magic as our guest speakers at the conference. More information to be announced very soon, but that's something just to let you know. If you haven't started following and getting information for the beginners, if you are a beginner, these are excellent Canadian blogs where you can learn about different aspects of the programs and different aspects of how to maximize your experience. We'll be covering many topics, such as award booking on Air Canada to minimize fuel surcharges. We'll be talking about other airline loyalty programs and hotel programs. We'll be talking about advanced booking techniques, the role of credit card bonuses to accelerate your travel goals, and how to maximize your points at a very fast pace. So those are some of the topics we'll be very, very excited to be covering in our conference. If you cannot wait to get started, I'm available for you to answer any of your questions. During this webinar, I left sufficient time on purpose to address many of your questions, if you have any, on these three major areas. And I invite you to stay in touch with me via Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. My new email is boris@pointsu.ca, and my phone number is indicated on the screen. So I'd like to thank you all for your attention, and I'd like to invite you to ask your questions so I can elaborate further on the best promotions that might be relevant to you.
That's great. Thanks, Boris. There are a few questions that have come through, and I'll get right to those in a second. And of course, it always surprises me. You know, I know I've had you come back 4 times now, and with every presentation, there's always something new. There's a new tip or a trick or a new loyalty program to watch. So it's amazing how it just keeps evolving.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. And of course, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you on your next steps and new exciting adventures. I wish you all the best, and I know you'll be very successful.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And as Boris said, we do have lots of time here. So, oh my goodness, this is great. We've got lots of questions that have come in. So, Boris, I'll just start with the first one. Is the IHG certification or the certificate promotion targeted or open to all IHG members?
Excellent question. So let me go to that particular slide, maybe to make it more visual. So maybe let me go to the slide with the wonderful Bora Bora. So the promotion for this fall by IHG is not targeted. It's open to everyone. However, the offers within the promotion are targeted. So it's based on your previous stay experience with IHG. To tell you the truth, if you have not stayed with IHG properties before, or if you're just about to open a new account, you're in fact will get the best offer. So you technically supposed to have only one account, and that's what you're probably supposed to do. If you don't have an account, I encourage you to open a new account, and this is how you'll get the best promotion from IHG for this fall. If you're traveling with your spouse, if you're traveling with someone, you might want to open an account for the second person, because most likely the new person who is enrolling might have the easiest and the shortest way to get the 2 certificates. So that would be my insight on the IHG promotions for this fall.
Great, great question. The next question, I'm a platinum with United Airlines. However, I will lose my status as I didn't fly enough this year. I'm curious on which network I should try to status match for 2016. I'm assuming it is easier for me to change programs completely versus try to fight to keep status with United for next year. What's your advice? Would you see moving to One World or SkyTeam or go to Alaska Airlines program?
You know, this is a very interesting question. I used to be a Premier Platinum with United and then realized that it doesn't really work for me. This is a very individual question. The reason being, it depends on your travel pattern. It depends where you travel. It depends on where you're based, where you travel, and what are your goals. So I would say these are the 3 important things. The fact that you've been fighting probably seems that you're not getting rewarded enough. It doesn't occur to me that you feel satisfied and rewarded with United. In fact, last year United just basically killed their loyalty program, and I personally see very little value in United points these days unless you travel on United or redeeming your miles to travel on United. It seems to me that American Airlines, which is a member of One World, at this moment, as of today, has the best promotion and the best the best recognition and the best use of miles. So if your travel in the future will be with One World, they've just announced a very nice promotion for transatlantic travel on American Airlines, British Airways, and whatnot. So without knowing much more detail, I would say look into American Airlines.
Great, thank you.
Actually, or if you still continue on traveling on Star Lines, look into the Aegean, the program that I am a member of. They actually have some good redemption options, and they give you the easiest way to have a gold status, which is equivalent to the platinum status you have with United. In terms of status matching, that's something we can discuss over email or phone. So please please message me, and we can take it from there.
Great, thank you. Another really good question. What are the best deals out there for travel to the Caribbean for the end of March, early April? And when should I start looking to get the best deals and cheapest prices using miles or cash?
Great question. And so there are a few things in this question. One part of it would be I always compare whether it makes sense to buy the ticket or use the miles. I generally value my miles or points at 1.5 to 2 cents. Usually for the ease of math, I use 2 as 2 cents per mile. So if the cost of traveling from Vancouver to the Caribbean or from wherever it is, requires X in miles, I would usually multiply it by 0.02 to get an estimate how much will it cost me in terms of the miles, and then compare that to the real cost. I use google.ca/flights, so Google Flights, to use for the best deals. They offer the best tool, the most dynamic search functionality out there. So when you're looking for the Caribbean flight deals, use Google Flights, because that's where you will get the insight. And then depending on the miles, depending on which miles you have, we can talk about this more in the future. It may or may not make sense just to buy points or use it makes sense either to buy the ticket or use the points you have, which might expire soon or whatever. So we might need to look further into this. One thing I would say, one of the reasons why I like Airgean program from Star Lines, the program that I have here on the slide on the left, is the fact that they consider Caribbean as part of North America. So they would be the best loyalty programs out there to use miles towards traveling to the Caribbean in economy or business class. They would charge significantly less than Air Canada or any other North American loyalty programs. But please send me an email and we can talk more about which miles you have and what might be the best thing to do for you with your travel to the Caribbean.
Great, good question. We have one alum that's just looking for your contact information. Would you mind flipping it back to that slide for us, Boris?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go to get in touch. Yeah, you can search Boris Remes on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, or you can just email me or call me or message me. My email is boris@pointsu.ca, and my phone number is on the screen.
That's great, thank you. So I have another question. If flying with Air Canada domestically, would that count towards the Aegean program since they are both part of the Star Alliance?
Yeah, so it's a choice of the consumer to which loyalty program you will credit your flight. So obviously there are so many loyalty programs which recognize flights on Air Canada. It's not only Air Canada, but obviously you can put the flights on Air Canada and credit them towards United program or Aegean program or Turkish Airlines program or whatever other airline program that is in the alliance. So yes, domestic flights on Air Canada can be credited towards Aegean. The thing you need to look into which class you're booking. If you're booking Tango class, my gut feeling tells me that you will earn very little on Aegean. But it's something to look into. If you search for Aegean website and you go under the table of earning points, they will tell you how many miles you will collect for a domestic flight on Air Canada. So that's something to consider. Generally speaking, despite the fact that earlier I said that United is not the best program, United actually gives you more miles for the cheapest ticket. So that's something to keep in mind. Some of the Tango or some of the very cheap Lufthansa or economy tickets, some of the lowest tickets, usually would get might get 100% on United loyalty program. So because you can put your loyalty card number there at the check-in at the airport, might give you more miles. So it's definitely better to get more miles even on United than getting very little on Air Canada's airplane program.
Boris, do you know when we can expect the dates for the Points U conference?
The Points Conference you will be in January of 2016. We are looking at the January 9th, 16th, or the 22nd. Okay. We are flexible. We are consulting our stakeholders, our friends, our speakers to find out the best date. The most ideal date is probably January 16th. By that time, people will get their paychecks after Christmas shopping, and things might get slightly better. But please email me or message me if you have any other recommendations, because we will start in Vancouver, and next year we plan to take it to Toronto and Montreal to get access to introduce our knowledge and share our knowledge with people in other cities.
Oh, that's fantastic. That question actually came from somebody on the East Coast, so that's great.
If somebody on the East Coast is interested, is passionate, is interested to help us out in some way or another, please email me, because we're definitely looking for supporters.
There we go. Open invitation. Love it. So I have another question for you, Boris. I have miles with several different airlines within one alliance. What's your opinion on utilizing these miles accumulated and deciding on which one to focus on?
So it was breaking out, but the question, if I understood correctly, the person asking, he or she has miles in different programs and asking which one to focus?
That's correct, yes, within one alliance.
This is an excellent question. I think I can offer some insights once I know where you put in which basket you have already put your eggs. That is a very big question. It's very individual. Again, it depends what's your future travel pattern. It depends what you would like to do with your points. So those are the things. It depends. Do you fly in economy, or you can buy slightly more expensive economy ticket? So all these things depend. So we can talk more if you message me. I would gladly look into this.
That's great. So we have a follow-up question on your 1 point is worth 2 cents logic.
Yeah.
So this individual is not planning on doing much business or vacation travel in 2016, so is instead focusing on spending kickbacks, so cashbacks, rebates, discounts, etc. They understand a lot of credit cards can often achieve a $1 to 2 cents ratio. Do you have any less known tricks or current promotions to share with the group?
So it's a good question. I love it. So again, it was breaking out a little bit, but I think I got the idea. So do you focus on the points cards or cashback cards? And you may or may not travel this year, or may not travel that much next year. So one philosophy I actually have at the back of my mind is that sometimes, well, once you become a travel hacker, once you understand the dynamics of the loyalty programs, in fact, sometimes it makes sense to have a credit card that gives you 1.5 to 2% cash back, and then use that cash back to buy miles. So you just kind of do a few steps. You get cash back, you redeem it, you buy miles, then you redeem these miles to travel on the airline you want. So it is possible, but I would generally say that credit cards give you much more value when you collect miles. When I said 2 cents, it's probably a 2 cents value or 1.5 to 2 cents value of a market, like a market value, like something you can buy, you can resell, you can donate to charity and whatnot. But the value of miles for me is significantly more than 2 points or 2 cents. The reason being is that if I look into my experience of redeeming HSBC rewards points on Singapore Airlines, I'm getting significantly more return than 2 cents. So when I redeem for business or first class, each mile or each point that I have collected would usually be a multiple of 20. So maybe getting at a range of 20, 25 cents on a dollar. But that's obviously a theoretical example, or not theoretical example. It's kind of it's not really a market value for the points, but it's kind of perceived value because somebody else flying with you in first class would have paid the full fare. So I actually personally, despite that no, actually I don't have any cashback cards right now because I truly believe that the cards I've mentioned in my presentation give you over 2 cents return, so better than cashback.
Ah, interesting.
Well, in fact, one other thing I will add to you here, you will definitely lose out if you collect your cash back and then get a check and then redeem for economy class ticket on your vacation. You are definitely, most definitely losing out. If you collect points, it's actually a good exercise for you to start thinking of what's the value of your points and how to maximize the value of your points you collect. But with cashback, you don't really have to do it. So if you want to become a travel hacker, and we can call it this way, and travel in business or first class and stay in very nice hotels, that's what I would recommend. I would highly recommend you collecting credit points from the credit cards I mentioned.
Great. Okay, this is probably one of my favorite questions of all the presentations that you've done, Boris, because I am an RBC Avian card holder. So the next question is, how would you rank RBC Avian card versus other credit cards in terms of redeeming for flights?
I would say low. Comparatively speaking, if we go back to my slide about credit cards, so I used to have the Avion card. I had it for a few months, and then I canceled it. So actually, no, I didn't cancel it. So here's what I did with my RBC Avion card. I got my RBC Avion card for free because if you have a VIP account, I think it's what, $23 or $30 per month. You get the card for free. So I got the 15 or 20,000 sign-up bonus, and then I redeemed these miles right away. I converted them to American Airlines points when there was a promotion. And then I asked RBC to change that card to British Airways Avion card. This is one trick I learned, that you can actually ask the credit card to change your card from one to another, which will completely not impact your credit score, but you will get multiple bonuses. It worked with RBC. But to answer your question specifically, RBC Avion card it's not as competitive as, for example, American Express or Alaska card. It's more expensive. It's $120. It offers only 1 point on a dollar spent. Again, not very competitive. It gives only 15,000 sign-up bonus. Again, not very competitive. And I would rarely encourage people redeeming RBC points towards towards flight. I would suggest them to convert towards American Airlines or British Airways Avion points and redeem them that way. You will get much more value out of it.
Great. How did the credit cards impact your credit ratings? You mentioned having multiple cards. Just curious if changing up cards causes much damage to your credit rating. Great question.
It's a great question. I'll try to break it down, but I'm committed on actually writing a blog post where I will go into detail with some maybe even personal examples how it works. In fact, applying for credit cards and managing your credit utilization, so how much credit you have, will increase your score. So let's say you have one credit card with $1,000 credit limit, and every month you use $900, which means your credit utilization is 90%. This is very bad. As opposed to you have 10 credit cards with $1,000 each, and you only continue spending $900. So your credit utilization is significantly low, which will allow your credit score to go very, very high. So applying you to a credit card a few times each year might affect credit score by 1 or 2 points. But actually, after 1 or 2 months, your score will recuperate and go back to your previous one. As long as you pay your credit card in full every month and you have no balance on your credit card, you should be using your credit score to be getting multiple cards. And trust me, I've done it in the past several years, and it's only worked towards my advantage. Not only getting the points, but actually managing and increasing my credit score.
Excellent. Another quick question here. Which airline card is the best one to keep for travel to Asia Pacific?
To where?
Asia Pacific.
What's the best credit card?
Which is the best credit card or airline card is what they've called
What's the best airline card to travel to Asia Pacific? Well, it depends where in Asia Pacific. It depends where you live. If you live in Vancouver, that's one thing. If you live in the States or in Calgary or other cities, it's different. So it's very much depends. Please email me. I would gladly maybe look into your case and give you a few tips and tricks.
Excellent. Thank you. So I'll just open it up one more time. Does anybody else have any questions before we let Boris go for the afternoon? Here comes another. Okay. Earlier, Boris suggested asking a bank to change the credit card program.
Hello?
Sorry, Boris. You had suggested earlier asking a bank to change the credit card program, but it shouldn't impact the score. Does that imply canceling a card?
No.
So is there a difference between changing and canceling?
Yes. So canceling means it's canceled, and it will show on your report that your card is canceled. So never cancel your first credit card, because from your first credit card is the length of your credit history. So that's one thing. Changing card with the same bank, it's called transferring your card. Well, actually, it's called changing product. So you might call RBC and say, I have RBC Avion. I would like to change it to British Airways Avion. Can you do it? And they did it. So another thing is that if you have an annual fee coming up, I would say I would negotiate and ask to waive this fee. In 90% of the circumstances, I was successful, and the cancellation department would waive the annual fee. If they don't, I stand the position that I really don't want to pay the annual fee. I actually have not been paying annual fee for my cards, maybe only once, really, like the renewal, the second year. But you can ask them to change your card to no fee card. So meaning you keep your credit balance, credit limit, but you will get a card from, let's say, TD or RBC or BMO, which doesn't have that many benefits, but would still would basically not cost you anything. And then you can, at the same time, while you're keeping that credit score, go somewhere else and apply for the best credit card available on market at that time.
Great. Well, as always, Boris, such amazing tips, and you always get me so excited for my travel and, you know, making sure I'm doing the right things with my points. And I think I'm going to have to look into getting rid of the RBC Avian card, because you do talk about that in every presentation, and I still haven't acted on it. So I think I'm going to have to look deeper into that. Anyways, that concludes today. Boris, fantastic tips and tricks, and greatly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day and sharing this. And I'm really excited about your next opportunities and ventures and conferences, and just sharing your knowledge in this space. I just think it's so amazing. We can be doing so many very cool things to maximize our points and get the best deals.
Awesome. Please come to the conference. I would be delighted to, there are different ways of learning and being educated. Sometimes it's webinars, sometimes it's reading blogs, sometimes it's following information on Twitter. There's actually a wealth of information, but you need to sit down with someone to break it down for you. The conference is another face-to-face interaction to get the ball rolling. Really, your 2016 will be different than your 2015. I'm committed to this.
And that's so true. I mean, even in the presentations that you've done, if you guys haven't joined us in the past 3, I highly recommend you guys go back to the Alumni Careers website and watch some of Boris's presentations from before, because he shares websites, other blogs that he follows, and so there's some great resources there for you guys to start to pay attention to. And I know I've signed up for a few of the newsletters and sort of alerts that I get from these websites, and it's been really, really helpful, that's for sure. So highly recommend that. And definitely, everybody watch for those dates, and maybe what we can do too, Boris, is look to promote it in the Alumni Network once you know your conference dates are when they'll be.
Awesome, will do.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. We'll sign off there. I do have a question here in the chat box, just wondering about our next webinar. On October 7th, I'm going to be hosting a virtual networking event for alumni. If you guys haven't joined us, I've done 2 others in the past, but there'll be another one on October 7th. And so next week, I am going to do a short little webinar on how to get the most out of a virtual networking event. So if you are interested, all the information is on the Alumni Careers website at sauderalumnicareers.ca. So feel free to sign up, or as always, you're welcome to reach out directly. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. So thank you again, Boris. Have a fantastic afternoon, everybody, and I look forward to having you join us again in the future. Bye for now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.